the wide receiver position for the Carolina Panthers is the most improved position heading into 2025 with a bunch of young talent, a player that can still do it all at the age of 33, and just depth and starters everywhere. So in this video, I'm going to break down the entire position, rank the entire group as a whole, and just give you guys what I think each player needs to do and what the expectations should be for each player in this room. Before I head to that, though, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on post notifications because I'm going to be dropping consistent content for you guys for the rest of the summer. OTAs is in full effect. Training camp's going to be starting soon, here in about a month, and I'm going to be giving you guys consistent content. So if you guys enjoy that, like, subscribe for me. With that being said, let's head right into it. Before I do touch on the individual players, though, I kind of do want to touch on the room as a whole and kind of an out broad look on this room in general in 2025, as I believe this offense has top 12 potential in the NFL this upcoming season. And the only way we hit that is if this room hits its potential, with T-Mac hitting his potential as a rookie. Adam Thielen, does he still have it in the tank at the age of 33 in the slot? XL and Jalen Coker taking those leaps that we hope they can take in year two. The tight end room also being underwhelming. This room is going to have to pick up the slack in a lot of areas with some of these individual players, and it's going to determine if this offense is either top 12 or top 20. And I'm very excited because this is one of the most intriguing positions. I think this is the most improved position, but the only way we hit the potential on offense is if this position hits its potential as a room. So with all that being said, let's head into the individual players. I'm going to rank each player 1 to 7 in this room at the moment, and what the realistic expectation should be for each and every one of these players heading into 2025. Okay, the best player at this position is a toss-up, I think, right now. I think you can argue T-Mac in terms of just being the best player. You can obviously argue Adam Thielen. I think that's the 1 and 2 at the moment, but I think you got to give it to Adam Thielen at the moment because of the fact that T-Mac's a rookie, and us as Panther fans love to just give unrealistic expectations to rookies right away, thinking they're going to be Hall of Famer after year one. It's weird stuff. Adam Thielen's still the receiver 1 at the moment until T-Mac goes out there and proves himself on the field on Sundays, which I think he can do, but he has to do it first before we just stamp a player as that. Adam Thielen is the number 1 player at this position for a bunch of reasons, man. He's 33. He still puts up numbers like he's in his prime. He gave us 1,000 yards back in 2023 in Bryce Young's first season. Yes, granted, he needed to do it because you had DJ Chark and no other receivers after Adam Thielen, but he still did it, and he could just give you what you need in the slot at the moment, right? How long is he going to be able to play in the league? Is this his last year on the Panthers? That's all fair questions to ask, but he hasn't taken a step, and you saw last year as well. Of course, we had a little bit more to work with. We had Jalen Coker step up in midseason. XL, when he was on for us. So Adam Thielen did not have to do as much last year as he had to do in Bryce Young's first season back in 2023. And that's only going to go down as well. So his maintenance will not be as high as last year because you have T-Mac stepping in. You have Jalen Coker hopefully making a step. XL, of course, hopefully making that step. Maybe Jimmy Horn doing what hopefully he can do in the slot as well, being that number 2 slot guy. There's guys. So Adam Thielen's not going to have to, be a high maintenance receiver in the slot, but he's really going to be a third down weapon for Bryce on those quick outs that you saw us throw a lot at him last year on those big time plays against the Chiefs and the Eagles. On those quick outs, it was Adam Thielen. Those one-hand catches was Adam Thielen. So that's what you're going to see him do again this year. I think a realistic expectation is like 700 yards for Adam Thielen. 700 yards, especially if T-Mac can do what he, can do this year as a rookie. If XL can, take that step, if Jalen Coker can take that step, if the tight ends can maybe, tap into their potential as well. I'm going to touch on them in another video. But Adam Thielen's maintenance is going to be low. It's not going to be high. It's just going to be third down weapon in the slot. Of course, there's going to be some big plays because he's Adam Thielen, but he's older, and I think that's a realistic expectation is 700 yards. But right now, at the moment, I think he's receiver 1. Okay, number 2 is T-Mac, okay? I think he's stepping in as the best young player in this room. Okay, XL had a pretty underwhelming year last year, knowing he was a first-round pick. Yes, by one selection, but he was a first-round pick for us, and he had a bunch of drops. He has the athletic ability as a receiver, but at the end of the day, he did underperform of a first-round pick. So I think T-Mac is honestly, it's realistic to put him at the number 2 spot right now because he gives us the size on the outside. He gives us the speed, honestly, at the 6'4" frame he has. He has a lot of speed at that size, and he's just an outstanding hands receiver. At the end of the day, turn the film on in college, that's what he's best at is hands, but he also gives you the speed and the size. He's just going to be an outstanding outside threat for Bryce on the outside, and I'm very excited. And I think right away he's going to prove it. And he's honestly proven it already in OTAs, but I think in training camp, when we really dive deep into the 7-on-7s on defense, he's really going to prove it even more, and preseason. Right. But right now, I think realistic expectations for T-Mac is 900 yards. Somewhere around there, I think is realistic. I think early on, if he does not tap in yet, meaning like I think second half of the season is when we should really start seeing T-Mac take control of this room. The first half, you might see a mixture of everybody. You might see Adam Thielen, really taking ownership of the late game situations, the big time plays on third downs. But second half of the season, when T-Mac gets his feet wet against different corners, learning the game, because again, he's a rookie, he has to learn different things. Like he's not a generational like a Marvin Harrison Jr. Malik Neighbors type receiver, right? I think he can turn into that. But right now, he's still a rookie. He has to learn. Even some top tier rookies have to step in and get their feet wet against different players, because that's the game of that's the game of football. And when you go from college to NFL, it's a different breed. So, but I think he can do it. I think that's realistic expectations. I think he could be the number one receiver by the end of the year in terms of yardage, but I think it could be a very mixed, which is why I'm going to have a 1,000-yard receiver in this class or in this room. Okay, the third receiver for me will be XL. I think Jalen Coker, if you put them the same amount of touches, I think they would be maybe even. If not, Coker might have more. But I think because Dave Canales does like XL a little more, and I do think XL is going to take some sort of leap this season. I hope so. I think XL will be the third receiver on this team. Okay, because I think he will be played more than Jalen Coker early on, and I think that's his chance to prove that he is a number 3 receiver on this team, and I think he can prove it. So I think, again, for XL, it's just obviously how much has his hands improved, because that's the only problem, right? We saw him get open against the Eagles on that last play. He has separation, and he just dropped it out of his hands. So we know he can get separation. We know he can be that athletic freak that he is, our receiver, if not, probably the best athletic player we have on offense. I'm trying to think about, on offense in terms of weapons and quarterback, he is the the best athletic player we have on offense. Okay, but we need him to catch the balls that gets thrown at him. I think when you look at it for XL, I think it's just, again, just getting your feet wet in year 2, trying to figure out in preseason. Just getting meaningful reps matter, because at the end of the day in the NFL, you're not going to just get better practice. You have to get meaningful reps. He's not dealing with that injury that he was dealing with at the end of last year, that everybody's floating around, which is why he wasn't able to catch the balls. He's not struggling with that. Get your feet wet in preseason, early on, get your feet wet. But I think realistic expectations for XL is about 700 yards. Okay, if at the receiver 3 position, I think that's realistic. Okay, I could be wrong, which is why I'm so intrigued about this position, because of the fact that what if Adam Thielen's better, like has more than we think, and T-Mac stays the same? Does XL just not play, or he doesn't play as well, so he gets, doesn't play as much? Does Coker go up? It's going to be very interesting to see how this room kind of shakes out, because it's just, we have a lot of depth here, and I think a lot of these players, it could be mixed by the end of the year, and either one player emerges, like one player hits 1,000 yards, or nobody does, but it's sprinkled everywhere. Like, if that makes sense. But I think that's the most realistic option, because T-Mac is a rookie. There's a lot of depth. So does he hit 1,000? I don't know. Okay, Adam Thielen's too old, I think, to hit 1,000 at a consistent rate, just week to week to week, to hit 1,000, especially with the depth also behind him. So I have XL as my third receiver ranked in this room. Okay, the fourth guy for me, obviously, is Jalen Coker. I think I'm high on Jalen Coker more than anybody, in my opinion. I think he has the build of a receiver. Okay, I think he can step in once again every chance he gets. Okay, I don't know how many opportunities he's going to get, because he is the fourth guy. I think he will be the fourth guy heading into the season, because of the fact that we know Dave Canales loves XL. T-Mac got drafted. I doubt T-Mac's the fourth guy. Now, it's obviously not going to be the fourth guy. So we can come to the conclusion that Jalen Coker is going to be the fourth guy in this room, which is okay, because the fourth receiver gets time as well. So he's going to be able to get touches. But every time he's out there, I think he will make an impact, just like you saw last year. Okay. But I think if he has to step in to be a third guy, if, for example, an injury happens, or let's say XL underperforms, T-Mac starts underperforming, something happens, if he has to step into a top 3 role, I think he will prove and maybe even climb higher. That's kind of my little prediction for a guy in this room, is if Coker has to step into the top 3 role because he has to, or he either earns it. Obviously, if he earns it, that's even better, meaning I think he'll just keep climbing the ranking or climbing this room. But if he has to step into the number 3 position, number 2, for example, if injuries happen, whatever, I think he will keep climbing it, though. and continue to prove it that he will be a player for this room for the future. And the third guy is arguably the most intriguing guy in this room, and that's Jimmy Horn Jr., our rookie, 5'8", speedy guy. You're not going to use him really a lot, I don't think, in receiver sets because he's going to be the fifth guy. Okay, he's shorter. He's still learning the game in terms of catching the football. He can get open because of the speed he has. But I think because of the spot he's in, we're going to use him more in terms of if we're going to use him offensively, it'll be more of jet sweeps, quick screens, stuff like that will be the way we use Jimmy Horn. Okay, obviously he's going to be a special teams ace because that's just what he's going to be year one mostly, unless he has to step into that role. But I think right now he's receiver 5. Okay, he just is. In my opinion, I think he earns that role because brings a different skill set, and I think every team needs a Jimmy Horn type of player, even offensively, not just in general, just offensively in terms of what he can do and bring to your offense. Every team needs a guy like that, right? Kind of like a Laviska Shenault, except he's speedier and he honestly gives you more receiving threat than Laviska ever did on this team, for example. So Jimmy Horn, in my opinion, again, realistic expectations is a special teams ace and can step in at certain times for your offense and give you in certain sets of screen, a jet sweep, just not a consistent week to week, give you 100 yards here, right? Because first of all, he won't get that much time probably because of what he's a rookie and we have guys in front of him. And plus, we're going to use him more of a special teams type of player. Okay, the next guy is Hunter Renfrow. I think Hunter Renfrow is potentially going to be on the 53-man roster. It's very interesting because I think the last 2 spots are up for grabs right now. I think it's starting after OTAs. It kind of separates itself, especially after what we've been seeing. Hunter Renfrow being more targeted in terms of video clips. Dave Canales speaking on it. Hunter Renfrow has a legit chance to make the 53. Okay, he's out there making plays. In the slot, he'll be a good guy. Again, I don't know how much he'll really make an impact week to week, which is why realistic expectations for Hunter Renfrow during the season, if he does make the 53, will just being a good depth piece behind Adam Thielen and coming in probably some red zone threat because he's a very good red zone threat when he was on the Raiders, obviously. So I think that's realistic expectations for Hunter Renfrow. But we know he put up 1,000 yards back-to-back seasons. And am I saying he's going to do it again? Absolutely not. I'm not saying he's going to come in here and put up 1,000 yards, but I'm saying don't be surprised if he comes in and makes meaningful plays for us if he makes the 53. Again, like in the red zone. It's starting to go out to 5. Hunter Renfrow's in the game. Don't be surprised if we look his way because he's a route expertise, man. He's one of the best route runners in the NFL, along with Adam Thielen as well. So it's just very interesting to see how this room is going to shake out. But I think Hunter Renfrow has a legit chance and argument to make the roster, so we have to discuss him as well. And the last guy I'm going to discuss today is David Moore. Of course, there's more guys below him that I'm intrigued about, but they're younger guys that I just don't know if they're going to make the roster, especially after adding Hunter Renfrow. I don't know how much they're going to be able to make noise in training camp and OTAs, so I'm not going to just discuss them, but you guys know who I'm talking about. There's one guy in specific that a lot of people love. I love too, but he's going to have to do a lot, okay? The 7th guy is David Moore. I think because he is a Dave Canales guy, come from Seattle, for example, Tampa Bay, and now he's here in Carolina and made a good impact. When Bryce came back last year, a big reason why Bryce was able to be successful to a certain extent is because of David Moore. Yes, he had some drops last year. Okay, sure. But he made an impact. Okay, David Moore made an impact last year for Bryce, being that 4th guy last year when Bryce came back the last half of the season. And he's my 7th guy right now, okay, in terms of what I would do because he has not made a big impact in OTAs. Okay, obviously Hunter Renfrow has made a bigger impact. I think Jimmy Horn has the upside more. I would lean to put him over Hunter Renfrow. I would want to see him more because he brings a different skill set. But I do think realistic expectations for David Moore, if he does make the 53, is honestly what he did last year. Come in, if he has to step in, he will make an impact in some way. I just fully think that. He proved it last year. I think if he has to step in and for a couple plays, I think you can see some impact, some sort of impact. But I just think right now he's the 7th guy in the room. But this is the first year in a while since like David Moore, Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel days that we've been able to sit here and really have a bunch of depth and also top guys that there's potential we can sprinkle in, right? Adam Thielen, T-Mac, and one of Coker or XL can all have like a trio this upcoming season with that Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore. Of course, we right now don't have a number one like a DJ Moore that season, but I feel like someone can emerge. Like T-Mac, I think if Adam Thielen at the age he is, we kind of know what he is. I don't know if he's going to be able to be a DJ Moore level player. T-Mac, though, if he's as good as we hope he can be, maybe he can emerge into that second half of the year. But an XL, be like a Curtis Samuel type of guy. Just an athlete. Hopefully gets better in terms of catching the ball as well throughout the season. But this was my receiver room breakdown. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications because I'm going to be doing these consistently. I'm going to be doing every position before training camp. So if you guys enjoy that, just like, subscribe for me. I'm also going to have a couple more just random videos, obviously, as well, dropping before training camp. I'm just going to try to give you guys as much season content as possible for the season, okay? Or before training camp, because after training camp, then we have preseason. I'm just trying to do as much content, just season content, position breakdowns, player breakdowns, all that before training camp. So if you guys like that, make sure you do like, subscribe for me. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in my next video.